Welcome to episode 137 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my co-host, Warren Sklar, is here. How are you doing, Warren?
Another day, another snowstorm here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Another 7 inches, and stayed home from work and did nothing. So there you go.
And speaking of snow, he's out in the Northeast with you. Welcome back to the show, Mr. Chuck Joyner from Mac Voices. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing great, David. Fellow Pennsylvanian to Warren, and we only got about 5.5 inches. So
you're in the better part of the state.
Better, but as we speak, it's glazing right now. Everything is getting covered in a sheet of ice, so it's going to get ugly.
And we added another 2 inches to our 18 inches. It's been for the last week or 2 weeks. It's just crazy weather.
You guys got the cold.
Yeah,
we didn't get as cold as you guys got here. Yeah, we're still hovering around that. Like if you walk 5 miles one way, you're in the rain line. If you walk 5 miles the other way, in the mix or snow line. So
yeah,
it's been like that. It's been like that all winter, actually.
Crazy stuff. So we got some good stuff to talk about this week. Got some news stories, pretty active news this week for Apple, and the beta, of course, has come out, and we always talk about that each week with Warren. And actually got a listener question I'm going to answer today from a listener, and got a couple tips. So I think we got a pretty good show for you today. Let's go ahead and just get started with the news of the day. And keeping my trend here, stick with Mac rumors. They always give us some great news. The iPhone 12 Pro Max named the most popular 5G smartphone in the United States. The iPhone 12 Pro Max was held the title of the most popular 5G smartphone in the 49 of 50 states. I like to know what state the other state is. It doesn't list it here. In January of 2021, according to PC Mag, and citing data from speedtest.net. So they did some research here. You could kind of see how many 5G phones out there. Interestingly enough, not number 2 was iPhone 12 Pro, and number 3 was iPhone 12, and number 4 was iPhone 12 Mini. So interesting to see where this goes. Of course, this is not official Apple information. So Chuck, what do you think of this?
I mean, okay, so we're all Apple people, right? Right. So I want to say that this shouldn't surprise anybody, but it really shouldn't surprise anybody.
It should.
And I think it kind of refutes the idea that all the naysayers that talk about the high price and everything. I'd love to tell you that it's the size that did it. I'd love to tell you that it's the best camera of the iPhone 12 line that did it. Right. But at the end of the day, I think it's both of those plus the Apple architecture, the focus on privacy, the breadth and depth of apps available. I mean, it hits on all cylinders. And so, it's just not a surprise. If you'd have told me that the regular iPhone Pro 12 had been the most popular, I would have said, okay, it was price sensitive. But I don't think this. I think this points to the fact that iPhones are not price sensitive. People want them, and they will pay for them.
Yep, and all three of us have the 12 Pro Max. Warren, of course, like you and I, we like the large size phones, and we've been with this size phone for quite a while. What did you think of this?
Yeah, it's a quality phone. I know that. We've owned pretty much all of them since, whatever. And they don't get worse every year. That's why we keep coming back. And, Android had 5G phones before Apple did, slightly. But if you remember, it wasn't a thing. It's like, there was like 1 or 2 out there, and they weren't, it wasn't, 5G wasn't pushed as much until iPhone came out with the 5G, and then it was all over the place. Android, I'm sure, has a lot of good selling phones, but they don't have one model. They have different models, different companies are making them. So, it's hard to compete with one. It's hard to compete with a product from Apple, one particular product from Apple, when you have so many others in the water. But it's a great phone. I'm excited to see what the 13 does.
Yeah.
What else can they do? So the rumors coming out with the 120 hertz refresh rate, the promotion, things like that. So maybe that will come out, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. Next story, Apple pays $163.34 million in licensing fees to songwriters and publishers. The Mechanical Licensing Collectives that announced via the Variety magazine that Apple and other digital service providers have paid a total of over $424 million in historical unmatched royalty fees. Of that, Apple did 163, which was the highest paid out. Spotify was right behind them, and then Amazon and Google and other streaming services were up, brought up the rear here. These folks are collecting the fund as a nonprofit organization that was created in 2019, and starting in January 2021, they began providing blanket licenses to eligible streaming and download services in the United States to collect the royalties under those licenses and paying out to all these songwriters, music publishers, and others. Make sure they're getting the proper funds. Warren, what'd you think of this?
Yeah, at first I didn't know if this was a good article or a bad article against Apple, but reading it, it's a good thing. I wasn't sure if they were like they had to or whatever. But what I think is, a lot of I hear a lot of Apple lovers claim that Apple does pay good royalties to the artists while other providers don't, and that's one reason why you should support Apple Music is because they pay better. This is nice to see some of that in writing rather than just people spewing that information. So, it's good. With all the artists that were complaining when we went to streaming, hopefully this will help in that case.
Absolutely, Chuck. What do you think? You being the music lover you are.
Go Britney! Go Britney!
Yeah, you brought it up.
Yeah,
I did not bring it up. I don't know. I'm kind of like Warren in this one. I mean, I think it looks good for Apple. Spotify was second, and after that, it sort of trails off quite a bit. Right. I do have concerns over the future of the music industry if the artists aren't being compensated properly. Yeah. And ironically, with the global pandemic, I mean, there was that shift away from selling albums and selling records because you weren't going to get paid that way. The streaming services weren't paying what a lot of people thought they should be. And so the artists were out there touring, and that's where they were making their money. Now they can't tour. So, things are problematic for the recording industry right now. And I don't know quite how to feel about this. I don't want to see Apple be extorted to pay more than somebody else, because I don't think that's right. And I don't know, where there are too many statistics that we don't have to make an intelligent guess or do intelligent commentary about whether this is fair or right for the music industry. I'd love to see if an artist gets $1 from Apple, if Apple pays $1, how much of that goes to the artist versus how much goes to the record company versus, this, that, the other. So a lot of questions here, but at the very least, it shows that people are using Apple Music and the streaming services, and at least the artists somebody is getting paid something.
Yes, that's the most important thing for sure. They want to make sure they're getting paid. So next story, Apple says some iPhone 12 hardware issues will no longer require replacing the entire unit. I thought that was the logical thing Apple had been doing, but Apple today informed authorized service providers that it will be introducing a new same unit repair method for the iPhone 12 mini and iPhone 12 models exhibiting certain issues that would typically require a whole unit replacement. There was an internal memo that the Mac Rumors was able to obtain saying the technicians will be able to offer the same unit repairs starting in February, at the end of this February, and for the iPhone 12 mini and 12 models, and that are unable to be powered on or experiencing issues with the logic board, Face ID system, or the enclosure of the device, such as a cracked rear glass, which is always a pain. So the service providers, I'm sure Genius Bars will have a new iPhone rear system part available to them that consists of the rear enclosure of the iPhone as well as components except for the display and rear camera. And I can go on and on here, but this is, I guess, a good thing because I tend to not want to have to switch phones when you got to restore it and have fun with all that stuff. Chuck, what do you think of this?
I think this may point to some big changes at Apple from the internal design aspect of it. That that somehow Apple is suddenly able to make these repair options an option. And I think that points to some kind of an internal redesign and maybe a little bit different focus. Because your computer, giving up your computer is bad enough. Giving up your phone is really, really difficult. And Apple, to their credit, I think have recognized this with the unit replacement thing, where I can take it in, say this is not working. They hand me a phone. Yes, it's a hassle to go through the resync, but at least I've got my phone back in my hand in hopefully a couple hours. I don't know. Again, there are a lot of details we need here about exactly what kind of time frame these replacements and these repairs will take. Right. But I saw this as a very positive thing. Yeah,
me too. What do you think, Warren?
Well, with Chuck saying that it's to be seen how fast this is going to happen, because I'm actually a little bummed, because probably I was thinking about maybe 2 or 3 times I went into an Apple store with when it's under Apple Care with an issue, and walked out with a brand new shiny phone, which made me really happy, actually, because it's newer. Any issues with it, blemishes or gone, whatever, I take pretty good care of it. But still, in fact, once they gave me a brand new phone coming out, I walked out and Face ID didn't work at all. It was a brand new replacement. Walked right back and they handed me another one right away. So if you could walk in and these authorized repair people don't say come back in a week and because we'll fix the phone, then it's a bad thing. If they say we can fix it right away, then we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I seem to remember many times I've brought my iPhone in and over the years, and at the beginning they were replacing them pretty much regularly when there was a problem, but then they were starting to try to repair them more. I mean, obviously screens they made them somewhat easier to replace, but the rear glass on a lot of the newer models, that was more of a challenge. But it's good to see that they're making it a little easier for everybody.
I never broke a back.
Yeah, I did.
Never, did you? Yeah, I've never cracked. I don't think I've ever cracked a screen front or back, to be honest with you.
In fact, I can remember it vividly. It was a 4S, and I had just gotten it, and I was getting out of my car, going to do a class at my Apple user group, and it fell out of my hand and crashed to the ground. And I needed the phone for a demo, so I was like,
"Oh, that's not good."
And I remember my wife was nice enough to run over to the Apple store, and they said, "No problem," because I had just bought it, and then they brought it back, and I had it all ready to go. So I have many of those. I'm sure many of us have those types of stories with Apple and being able to get.
And so Apple Care was born for you at that day.
It was. That's why I always get it on most.
The day you were sold.
On most devices.
Exactly.
So, next story: Apple released a Watch OS 7.3.1 with a fix for Apple Watch Series 5 and the SE charging issue. This was a minor update to the Watch OS 7 operating system that was released back in September. That comes a couple weeks after 7.3 it came out. And the update, as I said, is only for the Series 5 watch and the SE model. And what this is supposed to be fixing is an issue preventing some Apple Watch Series 5 and SE models from charging after entering power reserve mode. And Warren, you have direct experience with this, because I seem to recall you bought the Series 6 after holding on to your own Series 5, and then.
Well, no, I didn't have that issue though.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
That phone, I had a Series 5 that I gave to my son and got the 6 because the beta that I put on it that unlocked my phone with my watch and the mask stopped working, and I'm like, this is a good time to try running another watch. So I got I got the 6 and knock with the unlock with the watch and mask is working well, and my son's happy with the 5. I just got an email as we were talking from Apple trade-in program saying that my $160 for my son's trade-in, which was a 4, is being applied to the purchase. So
gotta love it.
All good.
Gotta love it. Yeah. Chuck, any thoughts on this?
No, just it's nice to see that Apple is taking care of folks that have older watches, and the 5 is not that old. No. So, but It's Apple. I mean,
Yep.
they're going to try to treat you right. Everything has to become obsolete at some point, but right now, I'm not even sure. Have they actually officially obsoleted any of the Apple Watches?
Well, the Series 0,
original?
and no, probably even the Series 1, then maybe the 2. 3 is still around. So I think the first three models.
I think they support everything. They just don't do the software updates.
Yeah, the 0 and the 1, I think, we're end of road. I think they're still in like Watch OS 6 or something like that.
Yeah. But how many years has that been?
Long time.
Yeah, and in technology terms.
You would have to really hate life if you still had a Series.
Yeah. I remember having it, and I remember selling it right away.
The thing was nice, but it was so slow.
It was slow.
Well, yeah, compared to today's models, yeah, no question.
And then
even at the time, yeah. It was, go ahead.
And then there was I had a companion article in here that Apple is also going to replace the watch if that fix does not correct the issue with the battery. With the battery issue, so they will go ahead and do free repairs. So if you don't have, well, of course the SE, I would hope most people have warranty, but the 5 you may not. They'll cover the repairs. So added bonus there. And then next article, Apple is now offering discounts on the fitness subscription apps for Apple Card users. Apple today is offering a special app discount and perks to the Apple Card holders, a feature that appears to be new to the service. So there are several fitness-focused apps that are available at discount prices or extended free trials for Apple Card users. They're going to extend 60-day free trial for a couple apps here, for a number of different exercise apps, and seems like I think just more so what caught my eye with this article is just more so you're starting to see more and more things with the Apple Card giving you discounts and such, and installment payments. They have just obviously it's just have great installment payment plans, especially for the Apple Watch. I'm paying something like $20 a month for my Apple Watch the Series 6, and you don't even feel it or think of it, and it's interest free for 24 months. So, and you can pay it off whenever you want. So, Chuck, I mean, you have the Apple Card. Have you been utilizing a lot of what it offers?
Some. I mean, not all of it applies to me or applies to anything I'm interested in. But I think this makes perfect sense in so many ways. It's a benefit for Apple Card holders, and so it makes it exclusive. Sort of. I mean, I don't think there are huge barriers to entry to getting an Apple Card, except that you like any card, you got to apply for it. But the more they do this, the more they pull people into that particular ecosystem. It rewards people within their ecosystem already, because obviously the apps are going to run on Apple devices, and you have to have the Apple Card to do it. So it's sort of a double benefit, and it's just more people being pulled into the Apple world. And I think we all think that's a good thing, and I think anybody that is a thinking person should realize that's a good thing. Yeah,
I've been paying a lot of my bills and utilizing Apple Pay with it. So you get that 2% cash back on the Apple Card, on your cash card, and 3% on Apple purchases and other perks they provide. So it's not a bad deal, and it's been a good card for me. Warren, I know you have one, but you don't use it too often. But what'd you think of this?
I use it here. I have got just use it for the watch I got.
Yeah.
No, all this makes me feel pretty guilty and bad about myself. Apple's
right.
really, I mean, seriously, the Apple's doing everything. Between the watch I got, I probably got some free. I qualify for a free Fitness Plus, even though I got the bundle, and I probably bought something anyways. And I have I have Fitness Plus for sure, and I have the Apple Card now.
Bundle.
I can get these apps for it. So I could get the apps for free, and I'm not taking advantage of any of it, and I really should be. So Tim Cook is standing behind me with his arms crossed, with a look on his face, saying, get on this and do something, walk with Dolly Parton. I mean, how can I turn that on? He's trying. Apple's trying to get me to do something, and then it's not working. So I'll get on that.
Yeah. And then next story I had here, Apple launches a For All Mankind companion podcast. Apple today announced an upcoming launch of For All Mankind, the official podcast, the podcast that discusses the popular Apple TV Plus series. As the second season will resume, it's going to resume tomorrow as we record this. It'll be hosted by Chris Marshall, who plays Commander Daniel Poole, and the podcast will feature space experts, former astronauts, and For All Mankind cast creators. The reason I brought this up is more so is, of course, Apple TV Plus content has become more and more popular. They had a great movie we talked about a couple weeks ago, Palmer, with Justin Timberlake. I thought was a really great movie, and a lot of other great content. But interesting to see that Apple is now looking into dabbling into original podcast content. I know there had been rumors about this, so this kind of really starts off. Are they going to really get into the podcasting content as well as what everything else they're in? Chuck, what do you think of that?
It's cross promotion for the show.
Oh, that too.
The big question for me with this is, and a personal bias here, I've kind of burned out on podcasts about shows that are currently running. Because it seems like, okay, the majority of those shows is this is what happened and this is what we think is going to happen next, and we bring in the star of the show and what's going to happen next, and the star of the show says, well, I can't tell you, and it's the same formula over and over. Yeah. Now, the one thing that is written up in this article that does say that they're going to have some never before heard things about how astronauts accomplish what they accomplish. And this would be the perfect thing to promote some of that, and especially today as the rover landed on Mars today successfully. So space is all on our minds, and I don't know too many geeks that aren't space geeks as well.
Yeah, we have a few friends.
Yeah, and so I guess my take on it is this will be a wait and see for me. I'm not excited about it just talking about the show because I can watch the show, but what they deliver along with it is where it might hook me, and maybe it'll hook some others. Yeah,
and that's why I thought this is kind of an entry point for Apple to start thinking of original content for podcasters and podcasting. So, they land some big things. Obviously, a big disruption with Rush Limbaugh passing away in the conservative radio market. So there's obviously going to be getting some more general interest of that in radio in itself. But that podcasting has really been kind of an added part of that whole world. So it'd be interesting to see where it goes when it comes to podcasting and Apple. Warren, what do you think?
My wife and I really liked the first season of the show. We're excited for the next to start. Podcast about it doesn't sound like something I'd be interested in. I'm kind of like Chuck. Some of the podcasts are better. Some older things. There's one that I'm listening to called Zach to the Future, which is it's about the guy from Saved by the Bell does a show with somebody else, and they talk to other child actors, and it's really kind of cool. And then you're going to listen to this podcast because of the space and the not because it's a show, because you're interested in space is basically why you're going to listen to this podcast, I think. The show itself, we were talking about it before. It's good, but it is boring at parts. I mean, certainly in the middle, in the I found the beginning series good, and the end of the series pretty good. Right in the middle, kind of like, okay, it's kind of the same thing over and over again. But I imagine the podcast is going to be a little bit more about, astral space.
Yeah. Unlike,
I hope. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I know exactly what you mean, Warren. I've thoroughly enjoyed the first season. There was a little too much social messaging in it for me. It's like, could we please get on with the point of the show? And somebody's going to send me nasty emails for that.
But you're right. I totally saw. I mean, I felt the same way. It's like, Tim Cook you could see Apple was pushing the PC all over the place, and it's fine, and that's what they do. But it was a lot.
And I might challenge you on that. I don't know if it was Tim Cook and Apple. I think that they just, as they were trying to rewrite because folks, if you don't know, this is an alt history kind of show, and so I felt like they were trying to rewrite the history of the early space program based on the values of today. And okay, so that was entirely possible, and it's an alt history thing. So doesn't mean it has to be deadly accurate or even in sync with what's happening now. But it seemed to slow the story down to specifically push some of those points. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's not what we're here for. So, hopefully season 2 will have a little bit better pacing.
Yeah. Then next story I had is Apple Music Replay 2021 playlist is now available. Apple Music subscribers can now listen to their Replay 2021 playlist as of this week. Playlist ranks all the music you had been listening to on Apple Music from 1 to 100, with your most streamed songs ranked at the top of the list. And then they have replay lists, of course, from past years as well. Only thing I was kind of disappointed about was the fact that, I share my Apple Music account with family, so they're going to be playing the music. So then I'm also going to see the music they listen to. So I tend to saw a lot of Christmas music that was in the charts on my playlist, which is kind of, like, okay, I mean, this Christmas, I'm listening to Christmas music 1 month out of the year, and you're putting that as my replay of the whole year. So I don't know if, Chuck, if you've looked at these playlists and for you in Apple Music, what do you think?
No, I have to say I have to step out on this one because I tend to create my own playlists or decide what I want to listen to. I seldom use any of the curated playlists. But so this is just not for me. Yeah, and I'm actually impressed of the curators that they have with Apple that are doing a lot of this work. So I mean, I tend to look at some of the other playlists that are for the different genres and such. I have my own playlist too. I agree with you. I build those as well. So Warren, did you look at this playlist at all?
This year and last year is pretty much the years of the podcast for me. I have been neglecting my Apple Music subscription as well, almost as much as my fitness subscription. It probably doesn't even have anything there. I don't think I've listened to much this year. Okay. Or last year.
And then next, another story here, CBS All Access ad awareness campaigns reminding Apple TV owners about the rebranding to Paramount Plus coming up. This will be on March 4th. They have start reminding subscribers All Access streaming service on Apple TV that's rebranding, which is CBS All Access, which is actually available as an individual Apple TV channel subscription. It appears they've rolled out of its ad awareness campaign on the streaming service in the last day or two. And I think what's going to end up happening, I think you're going to have it's not going to bundle with Apple TV's app because a lot of streaming services were doing that. So the reason I brought that up is I'm wondering to see if a lot of these content providers are going to kind of step away from being bundled into the Apple TV app, of course with the 4th gen and the 4K model of the Apple TV, you'll be able to stream this. You'll be able to download the app. 3rd generation Apple TV users probably going to need to hold off because upgrading, as well as they'll probably have to AirPlay it because a lot of apps aren't going to be available anymore. Warren, did you think about this? And the reason I brought this up is just more of the content in Apple TV.
Not much. I mean, it's not going to be something I'm going to subscribe to, I don't think, until I find something to do that will lead me to it. But not much to think about it. Ad awareness is good. Yeah, go for it. And Chuck, I mean, the only thing I could tell you is from what I heard on somebody else say is CBS. The CBS streaming service is actually one of the first services that came out, ever, and now people think it's a new thing, but it's, as you said, it's just a rebranded name for it.
And Chuck, I mean, I'm assuming you're keeping your CBS All Access just because of Star Trek Discovery. I think was probably the biggest reason. But
yeah. And again, I think Warren hit it. I mean, this is a rebranding, and so you have to make sure you don't lose people in the process. So you sort of have to beat them over the head and remind them. From the little bit I've read about this, though, I think it sounds like the content is going to be a bit more expanded. Yeah. They're going to gather up a little more content. So that's always a good thing. It's not only an opportunity to promote some of that, but also to remind people that this is what is here that you've liked before. Here's some new stuff. Pay attention to us, please. Yeah.
And they were enticing people now being, you should subscribe because they offered a 50% off for a full year of subscription for CBS All Access, which of course will carry over once they rebrand. So I decided to jump on that because I thought that was a pretty reasonable pretty reasonable price. It's normally $100 for commercial free for a full year subscription. I'm going to get that for half the price. So, they're enticing people, but good to see the content continues to evolve on Apple TV, and it's going to be interesting to see where it goes here. And a couple more stories here. Bridge, which is a BRYDG, which is this is a 9 to 5 Mac, unveiled unveils multi-touch support for its iPad Pro Plus keyboard. And plus, it now has a new 10.2-inch iPad case. The popular iPad accessory maker Bridge is returning to public life today with a series of announcements. The company introduced a multi-touch trackpad support for the Pro Plus keyboards, as well as an all-new Max Plus keyboard and trackpad combo case featuring OtterBox protection for the 8th generation iPad. Bridge had some struggles with the way their keyboards were working. So they've been releasing a lot of new firmware, but it looks like the multi-touch support is going to be a nice big addition for all the iPad series. Chuck, and I know you and I both have interviewed these folks at CES in the past. What did you think of this?
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, they were having some problems that probably wasn't anticipated. Yeah. The fact that they're going to just beat on it until they get it right. I've got a Bridge keyboard for my iPad Mini, and I love it. I've said this plenty of times. It took that machine from a strictly consumption device and turned it into a productivity device. Yep. And if and when I get a new iPad, because that's kind of what I'm waiting on right now, I will be taking a good hard look at the Bridge options, because I just think they are quality products, no question about it.
Absolutely. Any thoughts, Warren?
Yeah, no, I've been admiring them for a while, and I've never owned one, but I've been close to getting one. I was definitely going to jump on the one for the 11-inch with the trackpad until the reviews came out and they said it wasn't quite there. I know Guy bought one. He likes it. He has the one they're talking about, so he'll be excited with that firmware update.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But once the Magic keyboard came out, I decided I'd go that route. But I certainly, if the Bridge keyboard worked as well as the Apple's version, I would have went with the Bridge. I like the feel of it. I like the look of it. Yeah. I've seen them. Yep. I just think it's what Chuck says. It really makes it into more of a laptop than the Apple solution does.
Yep. And last story we have this week, LastPass, which is Password Manager, will restrict free users to only one type of device starting next month. One of the most attractive features of the popular Password Manager LastPass is that if you choose to use pretty much effectively without paying a dime. Well, I guess that's coming to an end in March. This LastPass has just announced the free tier will be restricted to just one solo device. And I hear Warren hemming and hawing because you just went to LastPass. What do you think?
Yes, so I got things to say. First of all, it's from what I understand, it's not to one device; it's to one type of device. So you could put it on multiple iPhones and iOS devices, or you could put it on multiple computers. So it's that. It's not just to one. I did just switch about 2 months ago. I decided to pick one. I picked that one, despite my wife and my son hating me for doing it, because I have to, now we have shared passwords and they can't log into Amazon and they can't log into my Hotmail to get so my son's Xbox things are happening with that. But I finally got it straightened out, and I ended up paying, right away anyways for the family, because I need the family subscription. I don't know how much I'm paying, but it's not a lot.
So it starts at $3 a month.
Yeah, we don't even really notice the charge. And for the most part, it works, and we like it. I'm sure the one you use is good too. The
1Password.
1Password. Mm-hmm. I hear good things about that one too. What happened? What actually happened right after the LastPass, and after I converted everything over, Apple released iCloud for Windows with the Chrome extension that could get your Apple your keychain passwords onto Chrome, which is mainly the main reason why I needed to go to LastPass, because my wife is still on Windows. She won't go to Mac, and I couldn't do that. Looking back, if I would have known this was going to happen, I probably could have got away with, because she has an iPhone and iPad, and my son has a Mac and iPad and iPhone. probably could have got away with going to iCloud keychains for everybody using that extension, but the damage is done and doing what we're doing now. So.
Now, Chuck, like me, you're a 1Password user. I don't know what you think of this.
Yeah, I'm a 1Password user. This, in some perverse way, this was my favorite story of the week because if there's so many different angles to this. First of all, I firmly believe in paying for what you get, and especially when it comes to critical utilities, and a password utility is really, really critical. I thought this was an interesting business move. Warren just said a couple things that just confirmed some of my feelings. The first one is that it's $3 a month, give or take. So he doesn't even notice it. So why wouldn't LastPass? There will be a few people that notice it, but at $3 a month, they may not. So they'll just keep going. The idea that, okay, they have an existing user base, and it's a hassle to change password managers. Yes. There's no two ways about it. So I can go to another option where I'm probably going to have to pay, and we can debate later whether it's a better option or not as good an option. But I'm going to have to pay to go to that other option. And, by the way, it's going to be quite a bit of pain. So why wouldn't LastPass do this? And I don't think that it's a money grab or anything. I think it's a very reasonable business approach to it. But I think it also, gives you an idea that if you are using free things, you are creating your own resistance to move. And there's a resistance to move anyway. But just the idea that now Warren has the keyboard commands built into his hands right now. And that's just sort of the nature of it. And so I applaud LastPass for it. It's not my choice, but I applaud them. I think it's a good business move. It'll be interesting to see how much backlash they get from the folks out there that think that everything should be free unconditionally. Yep,
absolutely. All right, that's the news of this week. Let's move on to beta iOS, tvOS, watchOS. All was released this past week on iOS and iPadOS. We're at 14.5 beta 2. Warren, what have you noticed any differences between beta 1 and beta 2?
Nope. Nothing.
Yeah, it seems pretty close. The one thing that did catch my eye was the fact that now music subscribers can now share lyrics and song clips in iOS 14.5 beta 2.
I haven't tried that or figured that out, but yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was the iPad. You have it in notes, but the iPad will mute or mute the microphone when you have it in
I had that.
closed.
I thought I had that in notes. I must have missed that one. Yeah.
No, you did. It's in there somewhere.
I thought I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I only mention it now because I think those would literally be the only two changes in this beta for iOS in general, iOS and iPadOS.
Yes, I do have that. Beta 2 is going to mute the built-in microphone when the Smart Folio is closed. And then other things that there were, little cosmetic things, because I love when these people just look at stuff. Of course, emoji characters, it's important to have new emojis, right? I think they said 217 to be exact. Apple did remove the blood from the syringe emoji to give it more neutral. I mean, this is crazy stuff. The headphones now look like AirPods Max.
There's a guy with smoke, a face with smoke coming out, and there's one where the head's in the clouds. There's a few funny ones in there, but this is a public beta. I know, Chuck, this is not much of your thing. You avoid betas for the most part, right?
I avoid betas, and I can't help it, David. I get a little bit frustrated with the Mac press. Some friends of ours and some people I don't know who constantly push the ideas that this is in the new beta. It's no guarantee that it's going to be in the 14.5 release.
Right.
And so I feel that some of these, no, scratch that. I feel like a lot of these articles are clickbait. Cover it, make notes on it, and then when it releases, barrage us with all this stuff.
Right.
But the trouble is that as soon as one starts to cover what's coming in the betas, then they all have to, or they feel like they're not getting their fair set of clicks. So I don't know who you punish for this, but I think it's borderline irresponsible because it feels like it's encouraging people to download and use the betas.
Right.
and that is just not a good idea if you depend on your device.
No, I stress that, but I know Warren, you don't, but I mean, because that you live in beta, so.
But that did change. I think Apple changed the rules a little bit when the public beta program came out, because before the public beta, in theory, developers weren't even allowed to share it, and they always did, right? They were under the agreement that they shouldn't share any of the new features. But now that the public beta is out and anybody can do it, then Apple's going to know that people are going to talk about it. And just on what you were saying, like it was on the national news or the evening news about that face unlock with the watch and mask.
Right.
So if Apple doesn't come out with that in public release, people might be angry about that at that point because it's out.
Yeah, that one I think is going to be there.
I think so too. If like Apple pulls it from beta, then people will complain because I think a lot of people are excited about it. But you're right. I mean, if they don't, if it doesn't make it into the final release, Apple could say, "Listen, we put it there as a beta, didn't work out. There was issues with it. It's not there." So
yeah. Well,
yeah, it's not the same category as rumors, but it's that whole setting of potentially unrealistic expectations that just makes me crazy, because I don't think it's fair to Apple. And Warren, you bring up a fair point, that Apple did sort of change some of the rules about the public betas, but so much of the public, and not even talking the non-techie public, but so much of the public doesn't understand what beta means, and the idea that hopefully it's a stable beta and it's good, but it also can crash applications. It can cause data loss. I think there have been a couple cases in the past where it's bricked phones. So, please, folks, don't install betas.
Yeah,
please.
You just the buyer beware. I keep saying that, but
it's fine.
Warren will always say it's fine. I tease him every week, Chuck. It's just he's a glutton for punishment. He's a glutton for punishment.
Make a backup. Apple will replace your watch. They've done it once for me when I bricked it with the beta. It's all good.
Just I don't want
to go through the hassle.
Yeah, you love the playing. You love the playing.
Yeah.
So that's beta for this week. Interesting. I found this music player. I wasn't aware of this. It was called Doppler Music Player. It's they did get an update this week, which I didn't even know it existed, honestly. Notably, it does track and album features and a very popular third-party music app for the iPhone. What it is, it uses an alternative way to experience the music library, sporting a adaptive minimalist interface with an emphasis on artwork and metadata and editing on the iPhone, and support for all the common formats without having to connect to a computer. So I have not tried this yet, but I put this in the show notes, so I wanted people to check this out. Chuck, I don't know if you're like the one who likes to look at other third-party apps that would camp onto Apple Music. I got another app I'm going to talk about here just a little bit here as well. Were you familiar with this? As I wasn't until I put this in here.
I've heard the name. What caught my attention is if it's gaining Siri support and CarPlay.
And CarPlay, right.
Spotlight integration wasn't as important. I put it on my list too of things I want to check out. Yeah. This is one of those times where, okay, it's going to have a new experience and all that stuff, and that sounds great. But I want to see if it solves any problems for me, because right now I feel like the Apple Music app, along with the S Lady, does pretty much everything I needed to do or wanted to do at the moment. And if somebody can point out something that it's not doing that would intrigue me, then yeah, I'll go. Otherwise, it'll be something to experiment with. But I'm hard pressed to see myself changing. Yeah,
it'd be tough, and also this app is not free. It's $6.99, so you got a little bit of an expense there, but and it actually has almost 5 stars in the App Store, so it's something worth to check out. But we have a link in the show notes. There was an article in Mac Rumors about it, so I wanted to bring that up, and then. Let's go on and move on to a listener question. A listener sent in an email. If you send an email to us at feedback@intouchwithios.com, listener Dan asks, where do you find the IMEI and serial number on your iPhone? Well, the way you do that is you go into General and you go under About, and then the iPhone serial number will be listed there at the top. And then if you scroll down towards the bottom of the towards the bottom, you'll see the EID, which is the electronic SIM, and then the IMEI, which is the identifier for the physical SIM. If you scroll down even further, you'll also see under primary, that would be the primary your primary line that's connected to your iPhone. In my case, it's T-Mobile. It lists all that information all in one place, so you can get a good place to find everything there is to know about your identification for your cellular service. Now, I'm using the eSIM. I know. Are you guys using eSIM? Or are you still on your physical SIMs? Because I
haven't switched over.
Right now, I'm on physical, but I want to go to eSIM.
Yeah. So I've done it, and then each time I've upgraded my phone, I've had to go call the carrier. I didn't want to take the chance of my line being dead for the moment, so you call them up, get it switched over, and it's really nice because then now that opens up your slot, your physical SIM. So if you want to put a second line on your iPhone, you can do that. So that's the eSIM. So I hope that answered your question, Dan, and thanks for listening. We appreciate it. And next, I wanted to talk a little bit about Apple actually released their updated security guide this week. Article was at Mac Rumors, and there's an updated version of the platform security guide, which provides a comprehensive overview of the latest security advancements across all of the OSs, So what they've done is they've actually provided, there's a guide in there about the password monitoring feature in iOS 14 and in macOS Big Sur, which automatically keeps an eye out for any saved passwords that might be involved in a data breach. Now, of course, we just talked about password managers. 1Password does a wonderful job doing that because you go into 1Password and the Watchtower will tell you, okay, your password is in a data breach, or you've been using it too many times. There's too many repeated passwords, so that does it too. But it's great to see Apple's looking out for everybody when it comes to the security in this as well. So they've added some new sections in here related to a lot of the Mac stuff in there, and we'll have a link in the show notes to the security guide. But it's good to know that Apple is watching our back and keeping things really secure. Chuck, what do you think? I mean, I think security has been a paramount thing with Apple and with all their devices.
Yeah, I mean, and it's been interesting to watch the focus on privacy, security, safety. Those things are all sort of all under the same umbrella, I think. And Apple seems to, be making a lot of hay with this, but also rightfully so. If those kind of things are important to you, if you really don't care, then that's fine. You can ignore it, and it doesn't cost you anything to ignore it. But if you care about it, it may be something that you are willing to pay for to get into the Apple ecosystem. So absolutely, I feel like it's a win for us, win for Apple, win for everybody across the board.
Yeah. And Warren, like me, you and I both work in IT support, so we keep on top of security issues as well. And I think this is definitely something good in the world of Apple.
I'll be sure to read all those guides tonight.
I thought it's going to be light reading, so I figured it would. That's why it's better to review the article I just shared from Mac Rumors, but I did also include the link to the actual guide. Actually, this time it's a web guide, because usually it's a PDF, and you have to start eyes glazing over reading through some of this stuff.
It's Apple had to pay that guy sitting in the corner for doing something. I mean, there's one guy in the security team that's like, you never do anything. You're writing PDFs to that.
Yeah, exciting stuff. So good awareness here. So, all right. So as we come as we come to the home stretch here, I wanted to talk a few tips that I have out here. One of the tips, and I completely forgot about this, is the fact that mirrored selfies. You actually could. You could set your front-facing camera by default, and by default, it's actually in a reversed image. The text will, of course, appear backwards, but things you do on the right happen on the right side of the screen. And this is more intuitive for setting up a shot, but it looks weird. So, actually, when you take the actual photo, you take it and it's not mirrored. So it's taking if you were standing where the phone is and looking at your subject, usually yourself, and the text is not reversed. But if you want to capture what you actually see on the screen and backward text and all, you can do that now. So what you do is you go into the settings and go under camera. and then you go in and turn on mirror front camera. And then because by default that's turned off. And if you want that to be turned on, it will help you with your front-facing photos. And I don't take a lot of selfies, but sometimes here and there. Chuck and I'm sure you don't take a lot of selfies, right?
No, I have to look in the mirror every morning. That's enough. Yeah.
So good tip, a good setting because people are using this. So I think it's a good idea. So
I'm playing along and I don't see. I see you turn that setting on. So I have mirror front camera setting on. Mm-hmm. Then what do you do from there to get to? You open the camera app, I guess.
Yeah, the camera app and go to the front facing camera.
Right.
You can do when you just open it, it toggles that into that mode. Is basically what happens. The text will still be reversed, but it's not an opposite. You're not on opposite sides. It's really for mirroring. That's where it comes into play. So
I'll take your word on it.
Okay. Second tip here is I wanted to talk about keeping your Wi-Fi address private. You can now join a Wi-Fi network with a private address. That means that when your device's network address won't be visible to networks or any network operators or other network observers, you can keep said parties from tracking you and creating a user profile on you. This comes in handy definitely when if you connect to like a place like a public Wi-Fi, like at Starbucks or something. So to do this, you go into settings and then to Wi-Fi, and then under that you will see a toggle for the private address, and turn that on, and it'll reduce the potential of anybody tracking you when your iPhone is across different Wi-Fi networks. It protects you. You guys have that turned on? No?
Not so far, but I'm about to.
All right. That's a good tip then. So check that out. And then one other tip I want to do, and actually I did this. Actually, I was using this yesterday, and Chuck, I know you highlighted this article on your Flipboard page for Mac Voices. The camera control for iPhone with Apple Watch. I had to take a picture of myself and I didn't have anybody to do it. So what I did was I took my stand behind me here and I took my picture. But the cool thing is you pull your Apple Watch out, and of course the Apple Watch has the camera app on it. And so when you go in and launch the camera app on the watch, it's basically a remote control. So you can select the camera, whether it be front facing or rear facing, and you can flip it right from the watch. You can adjust the flash, gives you access there. You can turn on live photos. You can change it if you want to have HDR or the high dynamic range on or off. And then you capture the photo. You can actually zoom it if you want, and it's got the trigger. So if you want to take the picture right from the camera app, as well as what it does is it does have the timer, and that's what I used. It does the 3-second timer, but what it does is it takes the picture in burst mode. So when you take that picture, then you'll have the 10 burst shots. So make sure you get the best shot available, especially when you're doing it remotely. So have you guys used that? I used it once in a while, but
I did for our Christmas cards this year. We did it.
Yeah. It comes in really handy.
We actually bought a cheap tripod on Amazon. Put the phone in there, yep. And my wife's how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this?
Like she even has to ask that question. She knows you're going to pull a rabbit out of your hat, right?
Well, she's like, well, we got to invite the neighbor over so he could take the picture. I'm like, we don't have to do any of that.
Kind of got a nice little tripod here.
Never use that thing again, but it's seriously.
Well, I use this one here that I use for my webcam, so it works out really well. So, all right, and then do you have anything else to say, Chuck?
No, that is a great tip. It's one of those things that you forget about it if you don't use it, but then when you remember it, it's like, oh yeah, this is great, because I can sit my phone somewhere, and put it on a shelf somewhere, walk out of the room, and then take pictures when nobody's looking. Yeah,
you and I both had the same idea because I had actually did it, and then I saw you posted an article about it. So,
yeah, not that I would ever do anything like that, but it's kind of a nice option to have if you if you need it creatively.
Absolutely. All right. And then I have two apps I wanted to talk about this week. The first app here is called TV Forecast. And what this app does is it tracks, explores, and allows you to discover your favorite TV shows, see what's up next, mark your progress, and much more. And you can check things off. You can see what's up next at a glance. You receive notifications when an episode's about to air. If you're falling behind, you can mark your progress and track it. So it's got a lot of great stuff. It works for both the iPhone and the iPad. And you can sync your progress as well. And it is free with in-app purchase. So it does have a premium fee starting at 99 cents, but you can go all the way up to a lifetime subscription for $24.99. The free version gives you up to 5 shows you can track at once, so you can try it out, see if it's something that you like. But I thought it was pretty cool. I started using it a little bit, and I like how it's got a very robust interface and being able to see all the episodes. Like I like watching the Chicago shows that are on NBC, Chicago Fire, Chicago Med, Chicago PD, and you go in there and it actually shows all the seasons that have come out, and it tells you more details about the show and the cast, and it's all in one place. So it's a really cool app, TV Forecast, and check it out. At least you could try it out. It won't cost you anything to try it, but if you like it, support the developer. You guys, any comments on that?
No, there are a couple. I've seen a couple of these. I have not seen this one. I blow hot and cold as far as what I'm trying to follow. But the more shows that jump around on networks and you don't know when they're coming back, especially due to pandemic, I can see a use case for this, and you may have just sold a copy for the developer. Yeah, absolutely. And then actually, I was thinking of a show you recommended last week on the Mac show is Resident Alien. I went and watched it. Oh my God, that is a funny show on the Sci-Fi Network. It's definitely dark, but interesting show. I watched the first episode, and it's on the Sci-Fi Network. Resident Alien. If you want to check it out. Did you catch up? You watch all the episodes already? I know I've got one in my queue right now, but it's been one of the high points. I know everybody talks about Ted Lasso being one of the high points of the pandemic. Resident Alien is for me because it just my sense of humor apparently is a lot more twisted than most people. You got me at it because it was going slow at first, but it got a little dark. But as the first episode progressed, I started liking it. So. All right, and then the last app I had here is an app called Soor, Soor. It's a music player, and similar to what we just talked about a little while ago about music players. And what this is a beautiful premium music player for your iPhone. Features third-party rich enhancements for the Apple Music app. It's got curated content personalized for your listening style. It's got a number of integrations and widgets and release alerts. And it again, the Music app is required in order for you to use this app. And it only works with Apple Music or songs that you have uploaded to the Music app. No other service is supported at this time with it. So that was an interesting app, but check it out. It is not free. It's $4.99. Again, pretty decent interface. I think it's a bad app to check out and see what it does for you. So, all right. And with that, I don't think we have anything else. Unless you guys had anything else that you could think of with apps, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. All right, let's go ahead and do it. That is a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, just like Dan did, at feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter at intouchwithios. You can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where you can find all the links to all the ways to listen to us there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. And Chuck, thanks so much for coming back onto the show. We really enjoy having you on. And where can everybody find you? It's always a pleasure, David. Thank you for having me. You can find me at macvoices.com. That's where I do everything. We have Mac Voices Live on YouTube and Facebook on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. David shows up pretty regularly. Warren does when he has nothing else to do.
Yes.
Private joke, folks. You got to understand. And you can find me, and you can find me on the socials as at Chuck Joyner. Thanks again, David.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. And yes, I would definitely highly recommend come watch us on Mac Voices Live every Tuesday night. It's a lot of fun. It's a blast, and so you're getting a really good following up on the YouTube channel, which is great. Great to see. So, and when Warren decides to come on, and when he's not busy, we would love to have him there. But what's been going on at Mac to the Future? Anything exciting, and what's been going on with you?
I think I scared everybody away last time I was on there. Same stuff. I usually use this time to thank the guests for coming. So thanks, Chuck. It's always fun, and I always learn something. So it's good to see you. It's good to see you again.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Thanks everybody for listening. We really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk again soon.